In this video, I'm going to describe a chess training program called Guess the Move. This program is free. It runs under Windows 7. It probably runs under earlier versions, but it has not been tested under earlier versions. What this program allows you to do is to interactively review existing chess games. The motivation for writing this program comes from the following quote. This is a quote from a recent book on memory techniques, and in that book a psychology study was quoted, a study of what constitutes skill in chess players and how that skill is obtained. If we take this quote at face value, it means that as students of chess, most of our time should be spent in playing over old games of some instructional value. I did some research and looked at some software that helps you to do this, but I couldn't find anything that I thought was exactly what I wanted, so I wrote this program. You can find this program on my website. This is the URL for my website. There is a brief paragraph about Guess the Move there. More importantly, there's a link to the documentation for Guess the Move. There are details about this program that I won't be describing in this video, but I believe the program is fully described and most of your questions should be answered in the documentation. To obtain the program, scroll down on my website and you will find the zip file, which is guessthemove.zip. You can download this and unzip it to a folder of your choice, and then if you click on the executable, the program should run. The program does not update the registry. It does not update any files on your computer that you don't know about. And in fact, to get rid of the program, all you have to do is delete the folder that you unzipped it into. As I say, this program is free, but I would be very interested in your feedback. So please contact me at the email address on my website if you have any questions or suggestions for improvements, especially if you find bugs. This is what the window looks like for the Guess the Move program. The first thing you're going to want to do is to pick the file that contains the game that you want to review. Click on the Params tab, and you can pick the file by pressing the Pick button. Once you have the file that you'd like to review, if the file contains multiple games, you can use the counter to indicate which game you wish to load. The games in this file have to be in the PGN format, that stands for Portable Game Notation, and is the common format used to write down chess moves. Your game does not have to be in a file. It could also be on the clipboard. Perhaps you've copied the moves in PGN format from email, or you might have got them off the web through your web browser and put them on the clipboard. You can load the Guess the Move program with that game by pressing on the From Clipboard. Now I'm going to press the Load Game button. It turns out that I've already reviewed this game, and it remembers that and tells me how well I did. We'll ignore this for the time being and we'll just play the game again. And here we see the game set up on the board. It's between two players, Paul Morphy and A. Meek. Morphy won the game, that's indicated by this asterisk. Now in the Guess the Move program, you always play the side of the winner. So in this case, we're going to be guessing Paul Morphy's moves. Before you've guessed any move, you can scroll through the game as far as you wish by using these arrows. this arrow will get you to the start of the game, this arrow to the end of the game, and these two arrows will advance or retreat one move at a time. The two inner arrows are duplicated by the keyboard arrows, so you can use the keyboard instead of these two arrows if you wish, using the arrows on the keyboard. The purpose here is because you may not wish to guess the move at the opening. So let's go through the opening a little bit until we get to a position we're interested in. Now, once we start guessing moves, we're committed to guessing all the moves in the game to the end. Now, because we're playing Morphy's side, or the white side, we have to get to a point where the last move made was the black side. The last move here is white, so we'll click once more, and now we're in a position to guess what move Morphy made. So let's look for a reasonable move, and let's assume that knight to c3 is a pretty good move. So let's do that. Click on the source square and the destination square, and the move will be made. At this point, you see that the program has indicated 3 different moves with arrows. The move that we guessed is indicated with the blue arrow. You can read the key over here. Blue is for the user, that's us. The brown arrow is the best move that the chess engine could find in this position. That's the brown arrow, the engine move. And the actual move made in the game, which is the only one actually put on the chessboard, is this knight to f3 move, which is the move Morphy made in the game. Now, when you guess a move, that move is scored. You get a score for each move that you guess. And that score is taken from the evaluation of the position by the chess engine. The evaluation for each move is given in this box. The evaluation is from white's perspective, that is the side we're playing here. What that means is that a positive number is an advantage for white, a negative number is a disadvantage for white, or an advantage for black. The engine's evaluation is in terms of centipawns. This is 1/100th of a pawn. So a score of 100 means an advantage of 1 pawn. A score of 300 would be an advantage of 3 pawns. The engines evaluate positions in the standard way of giving points to pieces, which is to say a pawn is worth 100 points, or 100 centipawns. Bishop and knight are 300 centipawns, rook 500 centipawns, and the queen 900 centipawns. The engine has evaluated our move, our guess, as 145 centipawns, or an advantage of about 1.5 pawns in this position. The move it came up with itself is the same one that we thought was the best move, and so the score is the same. It evaluates the move actually made by Paul Morphy, knight to f3, as only 129 centipawns, or 1.2 pawns. In addition to showing the engine evaluation, we also show the actual material advantage in this position. Here it's 0. No pieces have been taken, giving either side an advantage. Now, the score that you get for your move is based upon the engine's evaluation of your move and the move actually played. And what it does is it subtracts your move, 145 in this case, from 129 to give you a gross score. There's a parameter that I have set to 30, standing for 30 centipawns, is added to the difference between your move and the actual move made. If you subtract these two numbers and add 30, you're going to get a score of 46. That additional number added to your score I call a bonus, and that bonus is a parameter you can set, and I've included that so that you don't have to worry about being behind by 1/10 of a pawn or 1/100th of a pawn, since evaluations at this level are not very precise anyway. In addition to the score for your last guess, the entire game itself is scored, and this is just the sum of all the scores of the individual guesses that you've made divided by the total number of guesses that you've made. In this case, it's 46 divided by 1, so your game score so far is 46. After you've made your guess and examined your score, you advance the game again using the right arrow so that it's your turn to move again, and now it's time to guess the next move. At this point, I'm going to make a blunder to show you what happens if you make a serious error. I'm going to put the queen on d4 with the expectation that I'm going to lose the queen. When you make a serious error, you'll hear a chime. That chime indicates both that you made a serious error, but it also indicates that the position before you made the move has been captured. This position is captured in a file called review.pgn, and it persists across runs of guess the move. This file then will contain all of the positions in which you made an error until you choose to delete any or all of those positions. The idea here is that you will periodically review this file until you are convinced that you're not likely to make the same error again. Now, in addition to all that going on, we see that our score has deteriorated significantly. It's now minus 13 pawns, indicating that we're about to lose the queen if we do make this move. The actual move by Morphy and the move that the engine recommended in this position was to capture the pawn by making this move, which is the one played on the board. Again, you can see that the piece that was captured is ghosted out here. A black pawn was captured on this square. Now let's suppose that we don't really believe that this move was so bad, and we really wonder why the engine has given us such a low score on our guess. You can press the refute button, which will cause the engine to make your move on the board and then reply with what it thinks is the best move in that position. So let's do that. Sure enough, it took our queen with a pawn on e5. Again, our move is indicated by the blue arrow, the engine's move by the brown arrow. The piece that was captured is down here in the right-hand corner, a white queen. Something else has happened. It's put us into play the computer mode. You can see that by this button being checked and the fact that this mode box is now in red. From time to time, we can put ourselves into the computer mode, or the game itself will put us in computer mode under different circumstances. The idea of computer mode is that you can explore different lines in this position. You can force the computer to move in this position at any time by pressing the go button, or you yourself can make the move for whichever side it is to move by clicking on the chessboard. So we can say, all right, what's the best move here for white, since it's white to move is indicated by the white square. Click on go, and it says, well, your best shot here is to move the knight out. It'll give you the evaluation of the position at this point. White is still very far behind, almost 13 pawns, and white has got a material disadvantage of 9 points. That accounts for the queen being gone. Again, you can press go, forcing the computer to make moves. You can make a move yourself. As soon as you make a move, notice it's black to move here, so we can move for black now if we wish. As soon as you make a move, the computer move will be shown to you immediately. So if we were to move, say, take this pawn, the computer automatically shows us that it has taken the knight. So in this way, you can explore all the lines that you wish and convince yourself that the error that you made is also really an error. You'll get a chime if you make a move that is bad in the sense that I will explain when I get to the parameters. In any case, no matter what you do, your score for the total game will not change as a result of playing around in computer mode. Eventually you'll return to guess the move mode by pressing this button. This box goes back to its normal color. You're placed in the position of your last guess, and now we see it's black to move, so we have to advance the black position by making the move that was made in the game by clicking on the keyboard arrow or using this arrow. And here we are set up to make another guess the move. Now I'm going to stop the recorder while I play the rest of this game up to the next to the last move so that I can show you what happens at the end of the game. So here we are at close to the end of the game. You can see that we're at ply 21 out of 23. The last move that was made by Morphy was moving this pawn to d6, attacking this bishop. And we're about done here. If we make black's move, we see that black takes the pawn. And now the last move in the game is Morphy's move, and that's the last move we can guess. And I happen to know that that's castling queenside. And you can see that that's both the move that Morphy made, the move that I made, and the move that the engine recommended. We're at the end of the game, 23 to 23. If we try and make a black move at this point, we get a window indicating that we're out of moves to guess because the game is ended at this point, presumably Meek resigned. So we say OK. Now, when you're at the end of the game, your score for the game is saved in a history file. This, again, is a continuously updated file and will contain all of the scores that you played against Guess the Move. And this file, it's called gtmhistory.cvs or CSV, comma separated variables. And you can load that file into a spreadsheet and graph it, and you can see your progress. And presumably, if you continue to do this, your scores game by game will begin to improve, and you'll get some feedback as to how well you're doing. In any case, click this. You can see that we're now in computer mode because there are no more guesses to be made. And what I recommend you do is play the game out to the very end until you can prove to yourself that, yes, this is a game that I can win from this position. Meek resigned here. The computer evaluation for white is a little over 5 pawns, so surely you should be able to win this game. And the way you do that is by asking the computer to move for black. So it's black to move here. So you hit go. And that's the move it thinks you should make. Now you should make a move. Again, you're in computer mode so that your score for the game is not going to be updated. If you think taking the knight is the best move, sure enough it is. And the computer responds by taking your knight or your piece with a king, and you continue this way until you can win the game, or you can just click go and see how the computer would make the win happen. But that's not very instructive. So now we're done with this game, and we're out of guessing the moves for this game. And at this point we can load another game in and play that. But let's see what the review file might look like. Remember that when you make a serious error, the position before you make the move is captured so that you can review it. So you can do this inside Guess the Move, or you can do it in another program of your choosing. The name of this file is review.pgn. The positions are saved in PGN format. It tells us when we load this that we made a mistake on this date, and our mistake was about 14 pawns worth of errors. Pretty bad. It tells us we're playing white, and in this position we have an advantage of a little over 1 pawn, but the move that we made downgraded us to a position that's minus almost 15 pawns. So at this point, you're in computer mode because there are no moves saved in this review file. All we have to do now is make a move that's better than the one we made before. So we could make some kind of a move here. And we can say, sure enough, I'm not going to make so stupid a move this time as I did last time. And so this is a pretty simple example, but some of the positions will be complex enough that you'll really have to think a little bit about it and presumably make a better move. And you can use the feedback of the score, that is the evaluation of the position, to say that, yeah, your position is not too bad at this point. Now let me discuss some of the other features of this program. If you click on this button, you'll get the next game in the file that you've loaded. This is our review file, so we could continue to review other games. At any time, you can click on the Save Position button, and that will save the position in the review file. So even if you haven't made a serious error and the position was automatically captured, you may still wish to save a position, and you can click this button to do so. Let me talk about some of the parameters. We talked about picking the file, the game number, getting the game from the clipboard. You can change the colors of the light squares and the dark squares if you wish. You can pick a different chess engine. I include Stockfish in the download for Guess the Move program. Stockfish is an open source program, and you can read a little bit about it on their website. Some parameters on the chess engine are the time it should take for each move. In this case, it's 500 milliseconds or half a second, and it should search to a depth of 10 ply. You adjust these based upon how accurate you want the assessment of the position to be, increasing these two numbers, or if that slows the game down to the point where you don't want to wait for it, you can reduce these numbers and get snappier performance at the expense of less accurate position evaluations. The other parameters relate to the game. There's a data folder that you can pick where it will store the review file as well as the history file. This is the bonus that I talked about. You can set this to 0 if you don't want to give yourself a bonus, but I've set this to 3/10 of a pawn, which means that every time you make a move, your score is inflated by 30 centipawns. The alert sounds when the move you make is worse than the move that the actual player made, to the tune of the bonus plus whatever number you put in here. So this means that I'm going to get a chime every time a move I make is 1.3 pawns worse than the move that was actually played. I get the chime, and the position is kept in the review file. Now let me return to my website. Here again is the URL. You can find more documentation about this program that goes into more detail than I've been able to do. The program is rather complicated in the options that you have and the various things that you do to use the program, but the documentation should make that clear. If you have any questions about the program, especially if you find bugs, please write me. My email address is on the website. Also, if you have suggestions for improving the program, let me know. I have some ideas of my own to make this a little bit better than it is now, and you can watch my website if you want the latest version of the program. I hope you have fun with it. I enjoyed writing it. Thank you for your attention.